Hey, Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, the governor-elect appoints some familiar names to his cabinet. Will Amy McGrath face any competition for the Democratic nomination next year? And we're already looking ahead to March for UK basketball. All that and more is next on Hey, Kentucky. Welcome into Hey, Kentucky. I'm Mary Jo Perino alongside former gubernatorial candidate and state auditor Adam Edlin. Welcome back.
It's great to be in broadcaster in training.
Yes, you're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. Let's begin with the latest round of appointments to the cabinet of Governor-elect Andy Beshear. Some familiar names make up Beshear's list of 5 new appointees, including his own lieutenant governor-elect, Jacqueline Coleman, as she was appointed as Secretary of Education and Workforce Development. Former gubernatorial primary opponent Rocky Adkins is stepping aside from his leadership role in the Kentucky House and a potential U.S. Senate run to become Beshear's senior advisor.
It was not an easy decision, but I want to be in the right place to where I know that we can make a difference. Not saying you can't there, but to be in a different role.
Also on the new roster, former Lexington mayor and congressional candidate Jim Gray, who was appointed as the Secretary of Transportation.
What I learned about Lexington in my job was that this is a welcoming and inclusive community where people want opportunity. Well, this is true across our state. So my role in supporting Andy Beshear as governor is to do my best to embrace that vision of doing all we can to support Kentuckians.
The other new faces on Beshear's team are Colonel Hal Lamberton as the Adjutant General and former Lexington Fire Chief Keith Jackson as the Commissioner of Veterans Affairs. Adam, sometimes a leader is only as good as the people he or she surrounds himself with. What do you think of the cabinet appointments?
I think it's a very good start, and not just because Jim Gray appears to be aging in reverse. It's a talented bunch. You know, he's the mayor of the second largest city in the country, built a large construction company, knows infrastructure inside and out, an excellent appointment in an important cabinet. And of course, Rocky Adkins knows where literally everybody is buried in Frankfort. So he will be invaluable to the new governor as he tries to find his way through the Capitol.
Were you surprised by, not that Governor-elect Beshear appointed Rocky, but that he decided to step away from what he's done since 1987?
Yeah, I mean, Rocky's been in it for 33 years, and I think he's ready for a new challenge, and I think he'll do a good job advising the governor. I think one thing that's interesting, having been an aide to one governor and a chief of staff to another, is that Andy hasn't yet appointed a chief of staff, and that's usually the very first appointment that's made. So that may mean he is going to utilize a different leadership model in the governor's office. It may mean he just hasn't found the person he wants yet, but it's very interesting, and I think a different approach than we've seen in the past.
All right. As the governor-elect has also said, once he is in office, one of his top priorities is going to be replacing the Kentucky Board of Education. Andy Beshear says he is committed to an education-first budget, which will include a $2,000 raise for teachers across Kentucky. But some of his ideas clash with those of the current head of education, Wayne Lewis. Beshear has also talked about replacing him, but Lewis says, quote, "I have a contract with the Kentucky Board of Education, which provides the board with the ability to terminate me without cause. If they do, there are guidelines that the board would have to follow, including that I'd have at least 90 days prior written notice." Lewis also says he is only focused on doing his job and not what Beshear's plans for him might be. And Adam, let's be realistic. Wayne Lewis is going to eventually get that 90-day notice.
He is. And listen, this was a commitment I made in my campaign that I would replace him as Commissioner of Education, because one of the things that we really evaluate a governor's performance in Kentucky on is how well they manage the schools. And it's a big reason why Matt Bevins no longer governor, or won't be governor for much longer. And I think his partner in so many of those decisions was Wayne Lewis, and I just don't think Commissioner Lewis has the relationship that he needs with the educational community to move the state forward. And I think Governor-elect Beshear is making the right move, and we need a clean start.
There also seemed to be such a tunnel vision with Wayne Lewis where charter schools are concerned, and I just felt like that was the undertone of almost everything they were doing.
And education is so much bigger than any one set of issues. And I agree with you. He had tunnel vision on the charter issue, and now he has a governor who was elected with, I think, overwhelming support from Kentucky's educational establishment. And there needs to be a change, and I think Commissioner Lewis should respect that.
All right. While Matt Bevin may be getting ready to vacate the governor's mansion, the debate over the planes he used during his time in office continues. The two state-owned aircraft have cost nearly $900,000 to maintain over the past 2 years, prompting Senate President Robert Stivers to speculate that maybe it's time to consider selling one of them. Both planes are several decades old. Like other governors before him, Bevin faced criticism over using the aircraft for personal and political trips, as well as not revealing the purpose of certain out-of-state flights. Stivers, a fellow Republican, has said he doesn't think the governors should use the flights if the purpose is only political or personal, even if taxpayers are eventually reimbursed. And out of $900,000 sounds like a lot, but these are aging planes.
Yeah.
That's what it costs to take care of them.
And I've spent a lot of time on those planes. And the King Air, the primary plane, it's 47 years old. I think it's literally the oldest King Air in active use anywhere in the world.
It's like the Wright brothers.
Right. This is the
were
one
on it.
that they were afraid was going to crash into Ronald Reagan's funeral. Remember when poor Nancy Reagan had to run out of her own husband's funeral service with her high heels in her hands because this plane is a piece of junk. But I am sensitive to the fact that we got to have a governor who has a plane, because it's easy to say in central Kentucky we don't need a plane, but folks in Paducah or Whitesburg will literally never see a governor unless they have an ability to get there quickly.
All right. Now we turn to next year's race for the U.S. Senate in Kentucky. Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath has gotten plenty of support from outside the state, managing to raise more than $10 million for her campaign, which has the support of Democratic leadership, including Senator Chuck Schumer. But many progressives in Kentucky are unimpressed with her rocky start in a bid to challenge Mitch McConnell next year. That's leading to interest in primary challenges from other Democrats, including Kentucky farmer Mike Breuer and healthcare professional Steve Cox. Louisville lawmaker Charles Booker has also expressed interest in challenging for the Democratic nomination. Adam, would a spirited primary strengthen or weaken the Democratic effort to unseat Mitch McConnell?
Strengthen. Good, hard primaries make good candidates great, and they expose bad candidates. I mean, look at Andy Beshear. I mean, I think Andy had a reputation when this campaign started of not being a particularly effective communicator, maybe a little scripted. I think the hard race that we ran, Rocky and I both in that race, made Andy a better candidate. And I think it certainly prepared him for a very tough fight that came in the fall. Never trust a candidate who is afraid of a primary. And I think we need one. I also think Amy McGrath is a terrific candidate who starts with a lot of advantages, particularly a compelling life story, and about $11 million that she's raised so far. But I think, particularly for the Democratic Party, we've got to have active primaries to help build the muscle that you have to use in the fall.
But I think because of her war chest, I guess, that it would make it a daunting challenge for someone to run against her, knowing they can't raise that kind of money.
There's no doubt. But we've seen a lot of people who raise an awful lot of money. We've found lately that even if you raise a lot of money, it's not always an ingredient that guarantees success.
All right. Now, let's talk some UK basketball. Following a crazy few weeks in college hoops, the odds for the 2020 National Championship have shifted. BetOnline.ag sent out the updated list, and after a 6-1 start to the season, Kentucky's odds have lengthened a little, moving from 8-1, now 10-1. Michigan State remains the favorite, 9-1, followed by Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, of course, and Louisville. Meanwhile, even though it's only December, Joe Lunardi is plugging away at bracketology over at ESPN, the easiest job in the world. Right now, he has Kentucky as a 3 seed in the Midwest region, with number 1 seed Louisville and number 2 seed Michigan State. And Adam, whoever the best teams are, they will be in Kentucky's region at the end of the day. But
you can write that down.
Yeah, but Sharpie.
Yep.
But there is no great team that I've seen play.
Not yet. And so it's going to be great. I mean, I think, there's a free-for-all this year. And we're going to see the cream rise to the top, but it could be late February before I think a handful of teams begin to separate themselves from the rest. But there's going to be a big test for Louisville tonight against Michigan, and I think we'll see how much prime time we're ready for when we see Louisville at the end of this month.
Yeah, absolutely. Louisville, I feel like they have the advantage tonight because Michigan has just rolled through North Carolina, Gonzaga in a brutal tournament.
That's right.
And then they won it. They go from unranked to number 4. I feel like they may run out of steam tonight.
I think they might. I actually hope, I never say this, but I actually hope Louisville wins because I want them to be number 1 when we beat them at the end of the month.
Let's do that.
Yep.
Let's do that. That sounds good. Up next on Hey Kentucky, some 4-legged competitors went for the gold in Woodford County recently. Josh Corman takes us to the K9 Olympics when we return.